Before I leave you for now, I want to recognize ARC Raiders. ARC Raiders has been getting a lot of playtime and a lot of discussion around the Gearbox Studios, and there are many reasons for that. Engaging design mechanics, solid gameplay fundamentals, outstanding audio, and excellent technical execution, all contributing to why ARC Raiders has earned 6 nominations at this year's D.I.C.E Awards, including Game of the Year. The design director for ARC Raiders is Virgil Watkins, and he joins us here today to talk about his experience in creating meaningful moments that we experience with these live multiplayer moments. I want to see what he has to say, and I know you do too. So please join me to enthusiastically welcome to the D.I.C.E stage Virgil Watkins.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here to witness my public battle with imposter syndrome. Now, if you'll let me, I'll tell you a story about letting players tell stories. Often, the most memorable or impactful moments in games aren't those that the developers have authored. Rather, they are the moments that players create with each other while having a shared experience. Social interaction in games has a wide range, and it is often influenced by the context in which it occurs. In a competitive shooter, it might be your team giving you intel and cheering you on after a clutch moment. In a creative builder, it might be coming together to build a cozy home before setting off to explore a new place. Or in a PvP survival game, it might be springing an ambush to take hostages while you rifle through their belongings in search of beans. Players will naturally interact and create shared experiences. And in a game like ARC Raiders, it is the place for us as developers to create the conditions for those players to have those interactions. If you provide the tools and context and let them loose, players will surprise you with a lot of creative expression. This creative expression will manifest in ways that you didn't intend, in ways that are frustrating, and often in ways that can be hilarious. The inherent unpredictability of social play and the presence of other human beings is what makes these moments so impactful. We can never know what a player will do, and that is the beauty of it. The challenge for us is to embrace that, which shifts our responsibility from being the author of every moment to creating space for those moments. Creating that space requires setting a stage and providing a toolbox, which in turn requires a certain philosophy, a set of creative values that prioritize novelty, choice, and a willingness to embrace the unexpected. This mindset is what influences our development process, and it is what has led us to some of the core drivers behind ARC Raiders. We owe a lot of what has made ARC Raiders compelling to our ambition around fostering exploration and taking leaps on features that aren't guaranteed to pay off, or in some cases probably shouldn't have worked at all. Recently, a colleague said something that I think actually summed it up quite well. Sometimes we've been almost too stupid to say no to an idea and just go for it anyway. Upon further reflection, that's probably true, and in a few cases, the results have been predictably mixed. But that hasn't stopped us from asking, what if? So, some examples. What if our enemies could fly using physics? What if you could blast off their parts and they'd have to adapt? What if you could stand on them and ride around? Or, what if we taught giant robots how to walk, or leap, or chase you just about anywhere? Or what if we let players speak to each other? What if we let them change their voices? Or what if we let those same players climb anything? What if we let them jump and slide and dive all over the place? There is an inherent amount of chaos and unpredictability in utilizing these types of systems, but it also leaves the most room for the unexpected. One of the core design pillars on the project is that of choice and agency, which essentially means that whenever we possibly can, players are afforded choices within a given situation and the agency to act, or at a minimum, understand what occurred and how to adapt to or avoid it in the future. We try not to prescribe to our players how they are supposed to play, especially when it comes to their interactions with other players. I may get quickly corrected here, but I believe that at present, there is nothing in the game that directly asks you to fight other players. This is a decision that players make for themselves in the moment based on their own wants or needs. We may shape the situations or challenges in which players find themselves, be it the layout of a level or the composition of the enemies or even just the weather. But then we ideally want to get out of their way when it comes to how players want to approach those situations. It is important that we give players various means to engage, disengage, and most critically, communicate. With these tools, we give players the means to interact with ARC, the environment, and each other in predictable ways. It is then with their own creativity that they can then choose how to interact so that they can then ask their own what-if questions. By focusing on systems that allow for unpredictable outcomes, whether it's a physics-based enemy or a tool like proximity voice, we are intentionally creating space that tries to honor the player's freedom. We want to provide a platform for emergent narrative, acknowledging that the most powerful stories are the ones that players tell themselves or create for one another. So, how did we realize some of these ambitions? Well, our enemies do fly using physics, and you can blast off their parts while they try their best to recover. And sometimes they succeed, and sometimes they smash into a wall, or each other, or you. And we did teach giant robots how to walk, and leap, and chase you just about anywhere. And sometimes they trip on a rock and fall over, and sometimes their legs get stuck in a closing door, and sometimes they flip over and explode. And we do allow players to speak to each other. We let them be themselves or portray the raider that they wish to be, whether it's the trash-talking PvPer or the guy just trying to sell some fruit in Buried City to a passerby. And we let players climb just about anything and jump and slide and dive. So of course they phase through doors and get out of bounds, or they launch themselves into the stratosphere, or fall through the world into a post-process-induced Technicolor nightmare. We embraced the chaos and unpredictability. We gave it room to breathe, and thankfully, we got something wonderful in return, a lot of genuine surprise. Of course, this extended way beyond what we ourselves anticipated. A few million players will rack up more playtime and try wackier things in a day than we could ever. Things like watching an entire server come together to take down the queen with nothing but hammers. Or an extraction concierge ensuring that raiders have a pleasant and safe return to Speranza. Or a faction war instigated, in part, by a talking peanut. None of these things would have been on our bingo card, and now they're intrinsic to the history of the game. But these types of moments, and many more, gave us a great deal of insight into what players were having fun with, and lent inspiration into where we would take things next. In nearly all of these cases, there is one constant that underpins the entire experience: human interaction. Whether it's a tenuous alliance or a sudden betrayal, whether it's a deadly ambush or a heroic intervention, or just a really weird guy you met while you were looking for rubber ducks. In any case, you've usually got a new story to tell. No one in these situations needed to do what they did. They just followed their own motivations. We provide the setting, the stakes, maybe some pressure, but in the end, players will still make the choice. So what do we then do with all of these moments? Generally, we see where we can try to take things further. Players are having fun with a playable flute. How about an entire ensemble? And Buried City does have a lot of pianos. Extreme weather conditions seem to be pretty exciting. So what if you could get hit by lightning or freeze to death? And players are tending to find ARC drones a little charming and terrifying. So how about a ball that can hop and explode? I wonder if the drone should be able to open doors also. While there are critical areas of the game that deserve care and attention, such as progression, looting, and crafting, they exist to support what we find most compelling: fun, emergent, and surprising interactions between players within the context we provided. And so, curiosity, a willingness to try new things, and trust in our team are core to our way of working. We strive to allow people to champion what they believe is best for the overall experience. Things like our ping system, proximity voice, the ARC drones themselves. Much of the world simply wouldn't exist if it weren't for people asking questions and being empowered to answer them, in cases even down to a single individual. Asking ourselves ambitious questions is not inherent to just ARC Raiders, but to Embark as a whole. What if you could destroy walls? What if you could destroy everything? What if it was a game show? What if we turned everything up to 11? What if? We have been extremely fortunate to have the time and space to build ARC Raiders, and equally fortunate to see players enjoy it at a scale we never predicted. We continue to be surprised and delighted by the experiences shared by our players. And so, what if we provide even more tools and challenges and choices to keep players creating stories, both for us and for each other? Thank you.